Hey everybody, sorry about that. My boss is calling me on, I thought he was calling me, but he said he dialed the wrong thing. So, oh well. So, I wanted to share with you guys the relapse prevention worksheets from Self Recovery. And this is what I was trying to tell you guys about, those of you guys who are, trying to get sober and struggling. So, come on in. We're going to talk about relapse prevention and the self-recovery program. So for those of you guys that don't know, the link to self-recovery is in my bio. Okay? Click the link in my bio to join me on self-recovery. Okay? Okay. I wish I could pin that, won't let me pin it. Let me see, will it? Admin settings, topics, gifts, comments, moderators. Okay, anyway. So relapse prevention, come on in, guys. Come on in. For those of you guys that are struggling with your sobriety, you can click the link in my bio and join self-recovery today. Do it with me. So we're going to learn about relapse prevention. So this is going to be your solid 3-part plan where we'll cover how to plan before, during, and after a relapse. I will help you put together the 3 essential parts of your relapse plan that each have a specific purpose. Plan for triggers well before a relapse, plan what you do in the middle of a relapse, and plan what you do after a relapse. When you stack all 3 on top of each other, you create multiple lines of defense and more resilience. As with anything, the more you rehearse and plan ahead, the more successful you will be in preventing cravings, interrupting a relapse, and getting back on track. This is a detailed exercise because I want you to deeply understand all the factors affecting you. I don't want you to get knocked down by surprise, and that's from Dr. Daniel Hochman. Like I said, this is self-recovery. If you want to join, you can click the link in my bio and come on with it. Before we jump into the specifics, let's understand the 2 very common mistakes I see people make and how they think about relapse. Number 1, they think they won't ever relapse because they're too strong to. If someone thinks they're doing too well to relapse, then they aren't going to do quite as much as they need to do to stay sober and are actually more likely to relapse. Hey, Sam. Number 2, they think relapse means they failed. Most people relapse in the first year, let alone at any point later. The frustration with relapse only makes it more likely. See the irony here? These are both noble ideas, but they are inaccurate and only make things worse. While it's nice to have faith that everyone will stay sober, we also have to be understanding of human nature. Okay? And allow for the reality that most people relapse. That doesn't invite failure. It invites proper planning and response. Okay? So, like I said, if you guys want to join self-recovery, link is in my bio. I've worked with soldiers who spent thousands of hours preparing for the worst in battle and understood the necessity of rehearsal. But when it came to their addictions, they hadn't spent more than a few minutes of thought to prepare for their triggers and behaviors. This is your life. Prepare for it like you mean it. When you're ready, move on to the first of your 3-part relapse prevention plan. Okay, so let's get ready for our part of our relapse prevention plan, okay? So I want you guys to close your eyes, and I want you to take a deep breath in. Get your body ready to accept the information that we're going to be sharing with you today. Your brain willing to take suggestions and listen. And all that good stuff. Okay, here we go. Here we go.
New visitor.
All right. Time to reflect on certain people. Exercise 1. Exes, family members, friends, who remind you of the excitement of your addiction and are too tempting or you can't see yourself turning down any offer from, will probably cause great distress. Who can I avoid altogether? Okay? Part 1 is the most detailed part of the 3 parts because I want you to really prepare in advance. If you're solid on the first part, the other 2 layers are just extra solid protection. You'll need to think about 2 types of triggers. For each question, ask yourself this: what typically triggers my pain and distress? And what typically causes me too much excitement or pressure to use? You'll notice these are opposite types of triggers. One is a trigger of bad feelings that cause us to numb or escape by using. The other is a trigger of good feelings, too much excitement that we can't turn down the fun of using. This task will have you think through most types of triggers so you can be one step ahead of your future self. Feel free to add any others you think of. Okay, so let's start. Here we go. All right. Who can I avoid altogether? What will I do instead? Okay, here we go. Number 1, plan for triggers well before a relapse. Okay, so it says, who can I avoid to some degree, and what will I do when that happens? So let's answer these questions, okay? Who can I avoid altogether? Okay, so for those of you guys that are just, getting into your recovery and you're trying to learn about preventing relapse, who in your life do you need to avoid altogether? I'm going to make me a list too. Avoid these people like the plague, okay? So I would say my old dope dealer, drug dealer, ex-boyfriend, my using friend, Tara, okay, who gives me bad feelings? Now listen, we're asking ourselves this question: what typically triggers my pain and distress? Okay, so these people like my drug dealer and my using friend, those are people that cause me too much excitement, like the good times, the thinking of using. My ex-boyfriend causes me pain and distress, okay? So let me think of another person that causes me pain and distress. Oh, I know, my sister-in-law, because she stresses me out. So that's somebody I avoid like the plague, okay? How about you guys? Yeah, it's up, Summer. Yeah, Kyle, I'm telling you, man, it's worth it. It's the self-recovery that's in my bio. I'm telling you. And if you don't like the program, you can it's a 30-day money-back guarantee. So it's really it's a good program. And it's all videos and music. Like, I'm going through the handouts with you right now. This isn't even a video. This is a handout that they give you. For me, it's usually an argument with my ex-partner of 6 years that triggers me. Okay, so Kyle, you know that you need to avoid your ex like the plague. Okay, like, don't need to go around her. Okay, so that's on. Who else, Kyle? Give me another person that you need to avoid like the plague. So you say you're an alcoholic, right? I would say you probably need to avoid the liquor stores like the plague, right? Okay. Diana says, my brother-in-law and his wife, they're huge triggers. Okay. Good job, Diana. Okay. What about Diana? What about your old friend that you used to use with get pills from? Like, that's another person that you need to avoid, because she's somebody that reminds you of the fun times you had when you were using, Yeah. And your plug. Yeah. So this is a way that you guys can prepare. Okay. Caitlin says, my son's dad, Cody, he uses blue pills. Good job. Good job. Okay, so we're not even wanting a relapse, but we're preparing. This is how we're preparing, is by making this list of people that we need to avoid like the plague. Okay? Next, what are we going to do instead? So since we're avoiding these people like the plague, what are we going to do instead? Okay? So instead of calling my drug dealer, I'm going to go to a meeting, okay? I want you guys to fill up your instead side with positive things you can do that will help your sobriety. What triggers me is my ex-boyfriend. Every time I see him, he's high, which makes me want to get high. Okay, Michaela, that means you need to avoid your ex-boyfriend like the plague, okay? Stay away from him like he's the corona, girl, all right? Okay, so instead of going to see your ex-boyfriend or hang around him, you can spend family time with your parents and brothers and sisters, okay? Fam time, all right? How about going to the gym and working out, you know what I mean? With some healthy friends that are in recovery, okay? Oh, he's showing up at your job, then that means you need to get a restraining order. Tell him that if he doesn't stop showing up at your job, that you're going to get a restraining order on his ass. Straight up, sister. Okay? Zoom recovery support group meetings are some things you guys can do instead. Okay? Meeting with your sponsor or a mentor. Those are things you guys can do instead. Okay? Hey, Aaron. Congratulations. I'm proud of you, man. So, now let's go down to the next question. Who can I avoid to some degree? So, who are the people that, like, I have to see them, but I can avoid them too. So, like, they're not as serious as the other. They're not like the plague, but I avoid them to some degree. Okay? So, for me, I avoid my mother-in-law at some degree because I have to see her because she's my mother-in-law, but she also causes me a lot of stress, okay? I have to drive certain roads to get to where I'm going. So what I usually do is I avoid the places where I used to go around and get dope, right? But sometimes I have to use those roads to get to where I'm going, you know? You can avoid family to some degree, right? What if it's your boss at your job, you know what I mean? And they're using drugs. Like, you have to work. Like, if you can't get another job, you have to work. But you can avoid them to some degree to where you don't have to, like, be around them all the time. You know what I'm saying? And if you do have somebody that's using that that you work in close quarters with, you can get another job. Okay? Good job, y'all. What will I do when that happens? Okay, so this means tough conversations, explaining new boundaries in friendships with clear expectations about what you are prepared to do if they don't respect boundaries. One method is to ask them what they think the relationship is doing to you, so they are actually the ones recognizing it instead of that coming from you. So instead of blaming them, okay, you can self-recovery link. Sorry, I'm just putting this in there. Okay. So sitting down with people that, you need, that trigger you, okay? And your family members that you have to be around because you can't just, like, run away from them. Sitting down with them and setting healthy boundaries, letting them know, like, when you come around under the influence, it affects me in a negative way. It really, really hurts me. You know what I mean? And so you can either separate yourself from them or ask if it's somebody you live in the house with, like, go in your room and be away from them. You know what I mean? Because, like Kyle says, they're not responsible for your recovery. But Kyle, at the same time, if they know you're trying to stay sober, they can have respect for you, you know? Who will I still need to see that triggers me? Okay? So who do you guys still need to see that triggers you? All right? Who do you still need to see that triggers you? I think that this would come down to family, co-workers, maybe a baby daddy, because you guys have, custody over your kids together, that kind of thing. Get the help of a friend to come with you to see certain people or go certain places as an extra measure. So if you know you have to go over to your ex-partner's house because y'all have 3 kids together, and you know that it usually causes a confrontation, bring another person with you who is not emotionally involved in the situation. And that will help you, because normally the ex isn't going to act an ass in front of strangers, right? She wants to look good. So, okay, exercise 2. Time to reflect on certain places, bars, houses, and neighborhoods where you used to do your addictive behavior that reminds you of the excitement, or where the people there will expect you to continue. You'll be reminded of something distressing or traumatic. Where can I avoid altogether? Okay, so like I've said before, the bars, the dope man's house, where else, you guys? Where do you need to avoid altogether? This is you preparing yourself, okay, to not go to these places, okay? Once you learn that you need to avoid those places, what are you going to do instead of going to the bar? So for you alcoholics out there, what are you going to do instead of going to the bar? Okay? Going to the park? Or is that place you need to avoid? Because you used to use at the park. Trap houses, right? Okay. Instead, you can go to the gym. Okay, where else can you go instead, you guys? Okay, yeah, I used to use it at the park too. Now tell me what can you do instead of go there? Okay? The gym, an AA meeting. Good job. A Real Talk Recovery meeting. I know y'all were going to say that. The library. There you go. TikTok recovery. Okay. Where can I avoid to some degree? So this is just telling you like what place do you like, what places can you go, but they're not like places that super duper trigger you, but you still try to not go to them as much. Like for me, I try to not go to like bar and grills where there's a lot of people drinking and stuff, because sometimes it just triggers me to want to drink too, you know? Or like a family member's house who's having a party and everybody's getting fucked up. Like I won't go to that party then, you know? And if I do go there, I try to make sure I have somebody with me who's staying sober, you know? So, now let's talk about times, like holidays, anniversaries, that kind of thing. Remind you of the excitement of your addiction and are too tempting. Will remind you of something distressing or traumatic. What times do I avoid? So do you guys have any times in your life that you totally avoid that were traumatic? Like maybe an anniversary of a breakup? Or maybe going over to your family's house for Christmas is super triggering? Or July 4th, that's also a time where people like to drink a lot. You know, these are all situations that if you plan ahead of time for these, you'll know exactly how to handle the situation. When somebody died, that's a good one. A breakup, Christmas, July 4th, a death. Okay. Holiday parties, yep. So do you see what the whole point of this exercise is, you guys? It's supposed to have you thinking ahead of the relapse. So right now, you're thinking of things that you need to stay away from, so that way you'll know what you need to do, you know? Hey, Kyle, hey, Lucy, if you know that death affects you in a negative way and you're not ready to deal with that, then don't go to the funerals, you know? I really like this, you guys. Okay, now what does it say? It says, okay, now this is what I want y'all to do. Now list your top 3 triggers from everything above and memorize your response for each one of those. So every single one of you guys, I want you to list your top 3 triggers. Okay, I'm going to put my top 3 triggers. Okay. Okay. Now that you've written down your top 3 triggers, okay, I want you to put what your response to those triggers would be, okay? What would your response to those triggers? So for me, my top trigger would be seeing my drug dealer, okay? What is my response going to be to that? If that happens, what would I do? How do I stay away? First of all, I stay away from the part of town that he goes to. I avoid that part of town, okay? But if I did see him, which I have, I would say, I'm sober as a judge, fool. You know, and I've done that before. I've told him, like, I'm sober, I'm happy, I have my son, and that's what helps me stay sober. You know what I mean? Don't pick up if they call. That's a good one. Yeah. That's a good response to having, like, what about me having to go to a family gathering where I know my sister-in-law is going to be, and I know she causes me a lot of pain and stress. Instead of going around her and sitting by her, it's to the point where I don't even want to go to the family gathering if she's going to be there, because she just mean mugs me and my husband the whole time. And so I won't even go. But sometimes my mother-in-law literally begs me to go. And so I go and I sit far away, you know. My response would be to control my anger when me and my ex get into it and not go use. Yeah. And Kyle, call somebody that you trust and talk to them about it, you know, so that way you won't react. Okay. Well, plan what to do in the middle of a relapse. Congrats on putting together part 1 of your detailed relapse prevention plan. This second part is easier. Let's look at what to do during a relapse. When we're in the middle of a bad situation, we don't tend to use our best judgment. Keep this one to the basics of getting to safety in good hands, okay? So it says, if I just relapsed or I'm about to relapse, it just means I still need to figure out more about what's going on and continue to try to adapt some more. I was already trying whether I realize it or not. I can call these 3 people or organizations. So, sponsor, mentor, family, friend, church, and list their names. Okay, so if you're about to relapse, or you think you're going to relapse, or you're picking up, I want you guys to have a relapse prevention plan list of contacts. Right now, get a pen and a piece of paper and write down 3 people that you know that you can call when you're in a situation, okay? Write it down, y'all. I'm serious, because you're going to need this. This is going to be like your 911 phone book, all right? Then I want you to make a list of the places you can go if you're struggling, okay? Like a family's house, a friend's house, a meeting, you know, whatever it may be, okay? So you're going to have the people you're called, the places that you can go to be safe, okay? And things that you can do to disrupt yourself and change the way you think, okay? Read one of your most inspirational books. Read your own journal. Exercise. Rework any past program you found helpful. So I'm not going to go through the whole thing, because then, damn, it's like a whole worksheet, y'all. But that's what self-recovery is. This is the self-recovery program. Like I was telling you guys, it's freaking amazing. Let me see. Here's our mindfulness. They have all kinds of mindfulness exercises over here. Understanding cravings, allowing cravings to pass, understanding pleasure, learning to be with pain. I mean, it's just awesome. So if you guys are interested, that is life balance checklist, belonging checklist. This is what we were doing. Relapse prevention plan, a pacing calendar to do the program. So it's pretty legit, dude. Pretty legit. I like it a lot. It's helping me, and I'm, you know, I do my recovery every day, and I'm learning new stuff from it too. It's called, Lucy, the website is in my bio. It's called Self Recovery. When you click the little link in my bio, it'll say Self Recovery, and I'll be able to do it with you guys. You guys, my boss is calling me, so I got to call him back and do this with him. But check it out. The link is in my bio. If you sign up, let me know, and I'll help you guys with any of the courses that you want to do, okay? All right. I love y'all. I'll see you in a little bit.